Hey, what's going on, guys? Thanks for checking out this video. My sports Gematria. Gonna be talking about some NBA today. We got 12 games on the board. I'm gonna go over all 12 games. Daily numbers on one side, game numbers on the other side. All my final picks will be on my Patreon, in writing, underlined, and italicized. If for whatever reason you want to know what those are, you have to join my Patreon. Other than that, I should be giving you enough information here for both sides of the team on every single game to where you can make your own decision on who you like and who you want to pick, or what makes sense to you, or what doesn't make sense, and vice versa. So let's get started here with the first game, Pacers and Hornets. We got the away team up top, head-to-head record in the middle, home team at the bottom with their coach record. Pacers, their coach, it's a new coach, so his record is exactly the same as their current season record. So I just put same as team. And this is the Hornets coach down here. So today is January 27th, date numerology, 27th day of the Gregorian, 14th day of the 5th month on the Hebrew, the 131st day, 14th day of the 11th month on the Hebrew religious, the 308th day. So for the Pacers and the Hornets, the first thing that kind of popped out at me was this is the 115th all-time head-to-head matchup between these two teams. Hornets coach, he comes in sitting on 115 regular season losses where he could stay with the win with this game. The only thing is both Hornets and Pacers play each other again on Friday. I put a note here next to each of them, just a note to myself. They play each other again on Friday. So that means on Friday it's going to be their 116th all-time head-to-head match. And the thing you got to decide is, do the Hornets coach sits on 115 and then gets his 116th on Friday? Or does he get his 116th today and sits on 116 on Friday when it's the 116th all time? That's something that you're going to have to decide and figure out for yourself. Hornets, though, speaking just for today, if they lose, they can get their 11th loss. Pacers would get their 11th win. Today is 27th day of the Gregorian New Year. 11 sums to 27 in two of the four base ciphers. Today has 49 date numerology on the Gregorian. 49 spelled out, sums to 117. Pacers with the win would get their 11th win and also become 11-7 for a season record. Today has 69 date numerology. Hornets can sit on 69 head-to-head losses against Pacers, and they could pick up their 46th all-time head-to-head win against Pacers, and it comes down to, again, the number 27. 27 spelt out sums to 46. So that 27 plays a role in both sides. Hornets can either get their 46th all-time head-to-head win, or Pacers get the 11th win, Hornets get the 11th loss. Hornets coach would sit on 69 regular season wins as a coach for Hornets if they lose today. So instead of this 69 sitting here, the 69 could sit here. So as you can see, there's multiple different ways you can look at this. Just like any other game on the board, you can make a numerical narrative for both sides every single time without fail. Pacers, they can sit on 10 wins for the season as they become 1-0 head-to-head against the Hornets for the season, as Hornets sit on 10 losses. So they have a 10 pattern then, 10, 10, 10. I'm kind of liking this 11-7 here. I am liking the 11s. This 115 throws me through a loop because this can hit either way. Because again, on Friday is their 116th game, and he can get his 116th now, or he can get it on Friday, or he can not get it at all. I think Hornets are the slight favorite in this game. But this is the first potential upset I'm looking at a little bit. Again, my final picks are always in writing, underlined, italicized on my Patreon. So if you're interested in what I'm personally picking, you'll have to go to my Patreon. However, I should have given you enough information here for you to decide on which side you want to go with. You want to go with the 10s, the 11s, the 46, 69, the 115, 115, or the 69 down here. So let's go on to the next game. Pistons versus the Cavaliers. Today has 33 date numerology on the Gregorian. 33 sums to 66. Pistons with a win. Their coach would get his 66th win regular season for his career as a coach for Pistons. The Cavaliers coach would get his 16th loss as a coach regular season for Cavaliers. 16 sums to 33. And there's a 10 pattern here that I didn't mark, but I'm going to go over it. Cavaliers, their coach, this is his 29th regular season game as a coach for Cavaliers. 29 is the 10th prime number. This is the Cavaliers' 10th home game. They can get their 10th loss for the season. They would sit on 109 all-time head-to-head wins against the Pistons. 109 the 29th prime number, 29 the 10th prime. And then Pistons coach, he would sit on 100 losses regular season with the win as he gets his 66th. And 100 has a square root of 10. So there is that 10 pattern there. What I kind of like, though, is the Cavaliers 110. If they get their 110th all-time head-to-head win, 110 sums to 66 and 60. Today with 33 date numerology on the Gregorian. 33 sums to 66 and 60. Cavaliers would become 6-4 at home, like 64. 64 sums to 49. Today with 49 date numerology on the Gregorian. And then there's a 99 pattern here. So Cavaliers with the win can become 9-9 for the season, as their coach gets his 99th regular season win. The number 99 sums to 129, and the number 99 and 95 are identical in all four base ciphers. And Cavaliers 99, 99 can become 95 and 129 regular season head-to-head against the Pistons. So I should have given you enough there for you to decide on if you like the Pistons or if you like the Cavaliers. If you're interested in my final pick, it's on my Patreon. You'll have to go there. But you definitely don't have to. I've given you enough information here for you to decide. Kings versus Magic. So we're going to do something simple, and then we're going to kind of do something weird. Something simple hits both ways, Kings and Magic. Either the Kings are going to get their 11th loss of the season, or Magic's going to get their 11th loss of the season. We already went over this with another game. The number 11 sums to 27 in two of the four base ciphers. Today, the 27th day of the Gregorian year. If Magic loses, they become 8-11 for a record. 8-11 is the 121st prime number. 121 today with 33 date numerology on the Gregorian. 33 sums to 141. Today with 69 date numerology on the Gregorian. 69 sums to 139, the 34th prime number. And the Kings can get their 34th all-time head-to-head win against Magic. Now, the something weird is, well, this isn't weird, but 33 date numerology on the Gregorian. With the win, Magic can sit on 33 head-to-head losses against the Kings. But here's the weird part is the Kings can sit on 6 wins for the season in their 6th away game. And Magic can get their 9th win in their 9th home game. It is a day with 69 date numerology. 6996, 6996. Stay on 6, get their 9. Yeah. Outside of that, I didn't really see anything with the coaches a whole lot to incorporate. But one thing is, again, a 10 pattern is one of these teams are going to go 1-0 against each other for the season. And they're both sitting on 10 losses for the season. so that could line up. Another thing is 15. 15 date numerology on the Gregorian with the lost Kings can become 1 and 5, like 15. At the same time, though, they could become 2 and 4 on the road. And this is the Kings coach's 89th regular season game. As a coach for Kings, 89 is the 24th prime number. So as you can see, both sides can go either way, like always. If you want my final pick, it's going to be on my Patreon. But I have given you enough here that you can make your own final decision, or add or take away or do whatever you want. Let's go to the next one. Nets versus the Hawks. So we got the Nets, we got the Hawks, 191st all-time game. What I have marked here is Hawks have an interesting number for an upset, and I don't necessarily buy it, but it is there. So if Hawks win, you know, they won yesterday. They can take that steam in today, and they can beat the Nets or upset the Nets. They would get their 103rd all-time regular season win. Today is the 27th day of the new year. 103 mathematically is the 27th prime number. It wouldn't be the first time the Hawks beat the Nets. They are tied 1-1 for the season, so someone's going to go 2-1 or 1-2. So that doesn't really help. But what is interesting, though, is if Hawks lose, they would become 1-2 head-to-head against the Nets, like 12, as Nets get their 12th win for the season. Nets would become 3-4 on the road for the season. Today was 69 date numerology on the Gregorian. 69 sums to 139, the 34th prime number. Another way you can write this date, it's, you know, January 27th, but another way to say it is this, it's the 27th of January, which is 271. 27th of January, 271 is the 58th prime number. The Hawks coach, he can sit on 58 regular season wins with the loss today. What I find interesting, though, is if Nets win, they become 12-8 for a season record. This is the Hawks coach's 167th regular season game, which is the 39th prime number. Hawks would get their 83rd head-to-head loss against the Nets regular season. 83 sums to 167, the 39th prime number. 39 sums to 128, and the Nets would be 12-8 for a season record. So we have this light blue pattern that I have marked. I mean, I guess I could mark the 12 here too as well to go with the 12. But 83 sums to 167, 167th regular season game for the Hawks coach, the 39th prime. 39 sums to 128. The next time the Nets play would be on Friday, which is in 2 days. Friday has 35 date numerology on the Gregorian, and 35 also sums to 128, so they can go into their game on Friday 12-8 for the season. But Hawks do have that 103, so I haven't given much sight to Hawks. So it would be also this 11 here if the Hawks want to upset the Nets. It would be the 27. So 103, the 27th prime number. Hawks would get the 103rd regular season head-to-head win against the Nets. Nets would sit on 11 wins for the season. The word 11 sums to 27 in 2 of the 4 base ciphers. Also, number 11. So we have 27. The number 11 sums to 63 as well. And the Hawks would become 6-3 at home with the win. So maybe check to see if, you know, some of the start players for the Nets aren't playing. Because if the 3 big players aren't playing, I might look at this for an upset just because of the 11 and the 27 connection and the 63. And then now that I'm looking at it, Hawks can become 10-8, like 108, as their coach sits on 108. So there's that there. I actually kind of want to mark that. That's pretty good. So this might come down to key players. If Nets key players are out for whatever reason or not playing or something like that, there's an upset narrative here. So I'm going to keep looking at it. If you want my final pick for whatever reason, it's going to be on Patreon. Other than that, hopefully I give you enough information here to where you can decide and make your own pick between the 2 teams. Let's keep it moving. Nuggets versus the Heat. So similar to a game earlier, 11-7. Nuggets with the win can get their 11th win. 11 sums to 27. Today, the 27th day of the Gregorian year. 49 date numerology. 49 sums to 117. Nuggets would be 11-7, like 117. Heat would get their 11th loss for the season. 11 sums to 27. Today has 33 date numerology on the Gregorian, as well as 69 date numerology. 69 sums to 139, the 34th prime number. With the loss, Heat would become 34-33 head-to-head against the Nuggets all time. One thing interesting that I like about the Nuggets is it's their 18th game, and then it's their 9th away game, kind of like 189. And their coach can sit on 189 regular season losses as a coach for Nuggets with a win. So it kind of lines up a little bit. But on the flip side, though, we have a 10 pattern that we've seen in other games that could potentially hit as well. 10 pattern would be Nuggets sitting on 10 wins for the season, as Heat sit on 10 losses for the season, and then Heat would become 1-0 head-to-head against the Nuggets, like 10 for the season. Outside of that, I didn't see anything that picked up much for the Heat. I guess you can say, with the 34, 69 date numerology, 69 sums to 134, the 34th prime, Heat can end their 3-day or 3-game losing streak, and Nuggets can end their 4-game win streak, 3-4, 4-3, like 34. That can play in as well. If it would be anything, though, I'd probably think it would be the 10s. What else? I don't know. I'll keep looking it over. But I kind of like the Nuggets here. If you want my final pick, though, because I'm going to keep looking at it. Got plenty of time. My final picks will always be on Patreon, underlined, in writing, italicized. You're probably getting sick of me saying this over and over, but it is what it is. Hopefully I gave you enough information here for you to decide on who you think might win and who you might like and go with. Next game, Lakers versus the Sixers. Sixers has interesting numbers. With a loss, Sixers can become 12-7 for the season on the 100 or not the 127, but on January 27th, 1/27, 1/27, 127, 127. It is a day with 33 date numerology on the Gregorian. Sixers would sit on 137 regular season wins against the Lakers with a loss. 137 is the 33rd prime number. Today also has 15 date numerology on the Gregorian. Lakers would get their 15th win for the season. It's the Lakers' 19th game of the season. Their coach can get his 67th win regular season as a coach for Lakers. 67 is the 19th prime number. Or he can just sit on 66 wins. 33 sums to 66. So that can go against the Lakers. If the Lakers win, they would become a perfect 11-0 on the road for the season. We've talked about the number 11 over and over. 11 sums to 27 in 2 of the 4 base ciphers. But if you look at this, you see 11-0. I see 110. 110 sums to 66 and 60 today with 33 date numerology, 66 and 60. But also 147. 147. Lakers can become 11-0 on the road, which looks like 110. 110 sums to 147. They can also get their 147th head-to-head regular season win against the Sixers at the same time. Now, one big thing that would play in the hands of the 76ers, but it also plays against them at the same time, is that today is the 14th day of the 5th month on the Hebrew civil, like 145. With the loss, the Lakers would become 14-5 for a season record. It would be a nice Sixers upset. However, if the Sixers lose, they would become 9-2 at home for the season, and I'm sure you can already guess what the number 92 sums to. 145, 14th day of the 5th month. So, which 145 connects? Would it be the straight up 14-5 for the Lakers, or would it be the 9-2 for the Sixers? If you want my final pick, it's going to be on Patreon. It's going to be in writing, underlined, and italicized. Hopefully, I've given you enough information here to where you can make your own pick if you so choose to. We have a 10 pattern, like we've been pointing out the whole time. If Lakers lose this game, they would sit on 10 away wins. Sixers would get 10 home wins, and then Sixers would become 1-0, like 10 head-to-head against the Lakers for the current NBA season. So we'll keep it moving. Bucks and Raptors. We have 11. Again, it's coming up at nauseum at this point. 11 sums to 27 and 2 the 4 base ciphers. The Bucks can get their 11th win for the season. Raptors can get their 11th loss of the season. Today is January 27th. And what's funny about January 27th that I haven't even talked about it this entire time, even though we've been talking about 11, is 127 is the 31st prime number, and 31 is the 11th prime number. And so going along with the 11s and Bucks getting their 11th win, their coach can get his 127th win regular season as a coach for Bucks on January 27, 127, the 31st prime number, 31 the 11th prime. It's his 172nd game regular season on the 27th day of the Gregorian New Year. 27 sums to 172. Raptors coach, it's his 172nd game regular season. They have an interesting 54 pattern. Today has 49 date numerology on the Gregorian. 49 sums to 54. But 54 and 49 or 45 are such a common number over and over. But this one's interesting. Raptors coach can get his 54th loss regular season. Raptors with the loss can become 5-4 at home. And then Raptors would get their 54th regular season head-to-head loss against the Bucks. But, of course, we have a 10 pattern. Once again, Bucks can sit on 10. Raptors can sit on 10. And Raptors can become 1-0 like 10 for the season against Bucks with the win. Bucks coach, he can simply just sit on 126 wins because today does have 49 date numerology, and 49 does sum to 126. There's a 53, so if the 54 doesn't go, it'll just be the 53, them sitting on the 53. 53 is the 16th prime number. 16 sums to 33. Today with 33 date numerology on the Gregorian. So, hopefully this gives you an idea of which side you might like, might not like. Hopefully I give you enough information here on what you might want to do with the pick. If you want my personal final pick, it's going to be on my Patreon in writing, underlined, and italicized. Other than that, hopefully I gave you enough information here for you to just make that decision on your own. All right, Celtics Spurs. I didn't have a lot marked here on this game. I'm still looking it over. There isn't a whole lot to go by. Go either way, kind of. But what I do have marked is basically what we've already seen with all the other games. Specifically with the 11. Celtics can get their 11th win. 11 sums to 27. Today, the 27th day of the Gregorian year. It's also January 27th, 127, the 31st prime number. 31, the 11th prime number. If Celtics win, they can become 6-4 on the road for the season. 64 sums to 49. 64 sums to 49. And that's about as far as I got with it. Again, we have a 10 pattern. Every single one of these games almost guarantee has a 10 pattern. Celtics can sit on 10. The Spurs can get their 10th. And then the Spurs would become 1-0, like 10 head-to-head against the Celtics. But the interesting thing about this 10 pattern is we have something else to go with it. If Celtics lose and they sit on 10 and Spurs go 1-0 head-to-head against the Celtics like 10 and Spurs get their 10th win for the season, the Celtics would become 5-5 on the road. And 555 is the 10th Fibonacci number. It's the 10th triangular number. It's why we see the oh-so disgusting Tom Brady in his 10th Super Bowl Super Bowl 55. Celtics can be 5-5 with the 10 pattern. Spurs 10, Celtics 10. They go 5-5, the 10th triangular, the 10th Fibonacci. Spurs become 1-0 head-to-head against the Celtics like 10. So that's definitely there. 49 date numerology on the Gregorian. Like I said, 54 and 45 are very common numbers. Spurs can become 4-5 at home with the win, like 45. At the same time, it's their 9th home game, and they can become 9-9. The thing about the 11 is this number we haven't talked about a lot with 11. It's mostly been the 27, but 11 sums to 27, and it also sums to 99. So when Celtics get their 11th win for the season, Spurs can become 9-9 in their 9th home game. Hopefully I've given you enough information here to decide on which side you want to pick. My final pick is going to be in writing, underline, italicized on my Patreon. So if you're curious about what I'm picking, you'll have to go there. Other than that, you should have enough information to either make a pick or build on top of it to make your own pick. Wizards versus Pelicans. So again, the 11s. The 11s and the 10s. The 10s and the 11s. Wizards can get their 11th loss, or Pelicans can get their 11th loss. We've talked about both that number in practically every single game. As well as the number 10. Wizards can stay on 10, or Pelicans can stay on 10. One of these teams are going to go 1-0 head-to-head against each other like 10. So it's whichever way the wind blows. I actually didn't see that 16 there. So this is Pelicans' 16th game for the season. With the loss, they can sit on 16 head-to-head wins against Wizards all time. At the same time, it's their 6th home game, and they can get their 6th win for the season. 6 sums to 16, and 16 sums to 33. Today with 33 date numerology on the Gregorian, Pelicans can become 3-3 at home like 33. They could be the ones that sit on that 10 as they become 1-0. Today does have 15 date numerology on the Gregorian. If Pelicans do win, they become 6-10. 610 is the 15th Fibonacci number. However, what was just brought to my attention that I didn't mark and I just realized was this 16 right here. So I'm going to have to look at this game a little bit more. Wizards can get their 22nd head-to-head all-time win against the Pelicans, as Pelicans sit on 2 home wins for the season. 4-10, 10-4. 14, Wizards' 14th game. I know 14 sums to 104. 4-10, 10-4. So maybe that's like a anagram. Is what they're trying to do for the Wizards, an anagram, maybe. Outside of that, I don't know. The 5 and the 11. So either one of them is going to get their 11. So that's a tough call. The 16, that's a tough call. I do kind of like the 33 just because it's date numerology, and then 15 date numerology. So 15 and 33 date numerology. Pelicans could be 6-10, the 15th Fibonacci, 3-3 at home. But that 11 there and the 16 here kind of gets me. And then, of course, that 10 can go either way between these two teams. So I'll make my final pick in writing, like always. Underlined, italicized. If you want my final pick, it's on my Patreon. Other than that, hopefully I gave you enough information here to make your own decision or add to it. Thunder versus the Suns. Now, this is an interesting potential upset. I think Thunder are decent-sized underdogs here, but the numbers are fascinating to me. This is the 268th all-time head-to-head matchup between these two teams. And with the loss, the Suns coach can get his 268th regular season loss. It's his 89th regular season game as a coach for the Phoenix Suns, and Thunder can become 8-9 for a season record, like 89. So that light blue pattern there is fairly direct. I don't know. How much do you trust it? How much do you trust it? I don't know. If Suns coach does lose, he can get his 47th lost regular season as a coach for Suns. 47 is the 15th prime number. 15 date numerology on the Gregorian. 69 date numerology on the Gregorian as well. 69 sums to 139, the 34th prime number. Suns can become 3 and 4 at home, like 34. How much do you trust it? How much do you trust it? Of course, there is a 10 pattern. Thunder can get their 10th loss for the season. They can become 1 and 0 head-to-head against like 10. As the Suns pick up their win, they would sit on 7 losses in their 7th home game, as Thunder sits on 7 wins. Speaking of 15 date numerology, 15 sums to 65, and Thunder can become 6 and 5 on the road with the loss. But you also see that I have the 7-4 marked here. If they win, 74 sums to 127. What is today? It's January 27th, 1/27. At the same time, the Thunder can get their 127th head-to-head win against the Suns. So you have this 89, this 268, this 89, and then you throw in today's date, 127, 74 sums to 127. If Suns lose, they would also sit on 141 wins. Today has 33 date numerology, 141. So there's definitely a narrative here for the Thunder to upset the Suns. But there's still the 10 and the 1 and 0. Can't ignore that. There's still the 7, 7, 7. Can't ignore that. On top of that, not only does 15 sum to 65, but 7 also sums to 65. So now that I keep on looking at it, I think I still might go with the Suns. Because even still, even with how good that looks, I don't know, it just seems kind of practical with the 7, 7, and the 7. 7 sums to 6-5. Thunder would be 6 and 5 on the road today with 15 date numerology. 15 sums to 6-5. 49 date numerology. 49 sums to 126. So maybe the Suns just sit on 126 head-to-head losses against Thunder, as they become 1 and 0 head-to-head against Thunder for the season, as Thunder get their 10th loss for the season. That seems a little bit more practical. But I'm going to keep looking this over. There's definitely a narrative for both sides. Hopefully I've given you enough information on this game to where you can decide on which one you want to pick. And if you're curious on what I have, my picks are always on my Patreon, in writing, underlined, and italicized. So let's keep it going. Mavericks versus the Jazz. Here we got another 10. We got it marked in dark blue. Jazz, if they get their win today, they get their 10th win in a row. And then Mavericks would get their 10th loss for the season. 10th win in a row, 10th loss for the season. Possibility. Mavericks would become 6 and 6 on the road, like 66 today with 33 date numerology. 33 sums to 66. We also have 69 date numerology on the Gregorian. Mavericks coach would get his 669th regular season loss. We just talked about 74 in the last game, how 74 sums to 127, today being January 27th. Specifically the 27th day of the Gregorian year, and Jazz can get their 103rd regular season head-to-head win against Mavericks, 103 the 27th prime. You know, it is the 14th day on the Hebrew calendar. Jazz can get their 14th win for the season. The thing about it, though, is Mavericks, if they pull off the upset, they would become 9 and 9 for a season record. And 9 times 9 sums to 81. And they would also pick up their 81st all-time head-to-head win against the Jazz, as Jazz end their 9-game win streak in their 9th home game. So that's a very strong 9 pattern. Something to consider, and I'm actually just going to go ahead and put it in light blue, because that's not too shabby. Just to remind myself when I'm doing my final picks and writing on my Patreon later. Underline and italicize. So we have a nice 9 pattern for Mavericks. We have a nice 10, 27, and 69 pattern for Jazz. Hopefully I've given you enough information here for you to decide on which one you like better. If not, if you're curious, my final pick is going to be on Patreon in writing, as always. And then we have the last game for the night, Timberwolves versus Warriors. This game was played 2 nights ago, and Warriors won. It was Timberwolves' 16th game, and they became 1-6 on the road. I'm thinking they'll probably just do the same thing. 17th game, they'll become 1-7 on the road. Crazy thing is, though, is Gregorian has 49 and 69 date numerology. With the win, Timberwolves would become 69-49 all-time head-to-head against the Warriors. And we've been talking about the number 11 all in almost every single one of these games. 11 sums to 27. This is Warriors' 11th home game, and with the loss, they would become 1-1 head-to-head against the Timberwolves, like 11. However, we just started talking about the number 74 in some of the other games. The number 74 sums to 127. Today, the January 27th, like 127. And when it comes to the 69 date numerology, the Warriors coach, he can get his 347th regular season win. 347 is the 69th prime number. And that's the way I would probably lean a little bit right now. That 69-49 is pretty good though. So I wouldn't be ignoring that too much. And then we talked about the number 65 as well. Today has 15 date numerology. 15 sums to 65. With the loss, Warriors become 6-5. So yeah, I would look out for that 11 and 1-1. If you're looking for the upset, 11-1-1, that's it right there. And then you have the 69-49 head-to-head all time. But watch out for this 69 down here, the 347. That's a very real possibility. Outside of that, we have a 10 here, but it doesn't connect to anything. The 20, I don't see anything really connecting with the 20. The 13, I don't know. Nothing too crazy. I think that's it. Alright, so I'll just call it on this one. Hopefully I've given you enough information on all 12 of these games. My final picks are always in writing, underlined, and italicized on my Patreon. So if you're curious about that, you can definitely go over there and join that. However, you shouldn't have to. I've given you enough information here to where you can make your own picks if you really wanted to. Thanks, guys.